Hey there, this is Tom with another daily walk from ourwalkinchrist.com. And today I want to talk about angels and redemption, which is a fascinating topic. And the reason I want to bring this up is I really wanted to highlight something that I've seen played out in the media at least twice. And there's probably more of these out there. But those are just the two times that I've encountered it. And since I've seen it twice, that's enough for me to look into it and say, fascinating. So we're going to have a quick look at Genesis. We're going to look at angels, redemption, and just interesting take on our cultural media and where it's going. So the two resources that made me think about this, one of those is the television program called Lucifer. Now, when I first saw a couple of previews for that, I was like, that's kind of a bad idea, because here's a television program where the devil is the protagonist. And of course, the protagonist is the guy in the story that we relate with, we draw a connection to. In this case, it's the devil. And honestly, I saw the bumpers for it or whatever, and I totally forgot about it until there was a lady I knew from a church background that was talking about how fascinating and how wonderful this show was, and oh, it's a great show, you know. So I reminded of that. So I go online and I look on Hulu, on the free version of Hulu on a computer. You could watch a few episodes for free. And so I went ahead and watched a few episodes of Lucifer. I don't recommend it. Weird program. But one of the things in there that seemed to pop up is this idea that he's looking for a way to once again draw close to his father. And even some comments in the program seem to suggest that, if you just get your ways right, you'd have this alignment with your father. Of course, this is angels and Satan talking and discussing. So you had that thought. And the other cultural reference I've seen recently is that horrendously horrible flick Noah, which I think had three things in common with the real biblical story of Noah. There was a guy named Noah, there was a boat, and there was a dove with an olive leaf in its beak. Outside of that, nothing else looked like the biblical account of Noah. But in reality, the director of that film is an atheist, super environmentalist, and he intentionally wanted to assault the story of Noah. So, whatever. But in that movie, one of the things that was happening right about the time of the flood is you had all these stupid rock people helping to build the ark. I kid you not, the movie is that bad. And as this big battle's ensuing at the ark, right about the time the rain starts to fall, these rock people, we find out a little bit earlier in the movie, are the fallen angels. Look at sons of God, Genesis chapter 6. So they were these fallen angels. They became rock people. And of course they were the judged. These were the judged fallen angels, what we would call demons now. But in that scene in Noah, they were forgiven of their sins and are going back up to heaven. And I started to look at that, made the connection with Lucifer, and said, no, this is a problem. This is a big problem. Because angels do not have redemption like us people have redemption. We have the power of Christ for redemption in our life. And if we have placed our faith in Jesus Christ, we can find that redemption. Angels don't have that. We don't need the angels referring to God as Father like they do in Lucifer. We don't need the angels to be having the same type of redemption as us people do. And that's something that we need to keep in mind. Because as I start to see the progressive media and these horrible philosophies start to intermingle within our entertainment, I really think what starts to happen, which is bad and scary, is that since us as modern day people are so focused on the entertainment that we find, big spider web, we're focused on this huge amount of entertainment that we have. What my concern is, we're not reading as much, so we're going to take these little things and things like Noah and things like Lucifer, and we are going to essentially incorporate them into our theology. And now we will be suffering from poor theology informed by bad progressive media, which is fundamentally against God as a whole. And that's my challenge with that. So all that being said, let me talk about the controversy. Now, this is if you really dig into the account of Noah and the sons of God in Genesis 6, there's some controversy. Who are these sons of God? Some people would say this is the Sethites. Some people will say it's those fallen angels. Some people will say it was another race of kings, another place. And I know James Montgomery Boyce's commentary on Genesis will really highlight all of the different philosophies, the pros and the cons of each. But in the middle of all that, one of the interesting theories about Noah, if you look at that in Genesis 6, you see that the sons of God are marrying the daughters of men and producing this race of people called the Nephilim. And why that's interestingly significant is it is hypothesized by some very good sound pastors that what's really going on here is that the fallen angels are trying to get into the bloodline of the humans to accomplish redemption for themselves. It is one of the theories with a lot of biblical support. And with that being said, what we can start to see is, although most of your translations about Noah will talk about Noah being more righteous, some of the older languages and the ones closer to the original languages say Noah is pure. And some take that to say he is one of the last families that do not have this bloodline of these fallen angels. And so God wiped out the world to remove angels from the redemption of Christ. Now there is, like I said, that's not one of the absolute most known doctrines, but it is one which has a lot of biblical support. Definitely not a core belief, but certainly interesting of consideration. And all that being said, we also do have a lot of evidence that Noah did it. It's bound to happen. That Noah did indeed, not only was he pure in bloodline, but he also was faithful to God. There's enough evidence of that. So definitely not discounting that in wiping out the world. However, interesting to note that angels do not have a means of redemption. A fallen angel is cast out of heaven and has a place reserved for them in the pit of hell. And that's something we need to keep in mind. You say, well, why would you do an entire video on that? Because error in our theology will lead to error in our life. And I really wanted to address that, to say angels don't have that same level of redemption that we people have. So we need to keep that in mind. This has been Tom with a Daily Walk, or walkinchrist.com.